Good morning, good evening, everyone. Hope you all are doing safe in this COVID times. Moreover, thanks for those who have joined for today's webinar panel discussion, How Emerging Tech Alter the Future of Transportation in a Better Way. We have participants all over the world who have registered for this webinar and wanted to understand from the subject point from the quality speakers today. Now, to begin with, let me introduce myself and the company to you. I'm Arvind Kannan. I'll be your host for the day. I joined by Nitin Naveen. He's the Vice President, Innovation and Strategy at AA CoSpot, and Naveen Kumar, who will be assisting us in this webinar to keep it lively. In AI CoSpot, our aim is to be number one AI-driven community all over the world so that the like-minded people can be part of the same in supporting, growing, and making it a huge success. Our mission is to serve as a hub for information regarding Industry 4.0, which encompass not limited to AI, ML, deep learning, RPA, robotics, IoT, edge computing, analytics, 5G, drone, edge AI, digital twins, AR, VR cloud, and many more. So we will continue to do industry-packed webinar and hybrid events. The knowledge repository will be made from the reliable data through industry thought leaders, subject matter experts, and the leaders who are there in the academic space as well. We'll enrich the digital content through videos, blog, podcast, newsletter to shed the light on ever-evolving industries. So I request all of you to go through our website www.aicoresport.io for further updates. Also like our social media channels, which will keep you all updated on what we propose to offer in coming months as well. So there are lots in stores in subsequent months as well, with focus on retail, customer experience, testing and quality, aviation, and many more. We'll keep on adding more topics to the list. So also there is a half-day virtual event which is happening on Friday, May 27th, Emerging Tech and Innovation in Transportation. So there are great 8 speakers are there on particular day. So request all of you to kindly register and attend the event. So before starting the day, I would like to tell a few things so that you can set up a topic for amazing network and learning day for you all. Special mention to the technology partner, Digit 7, who helped us in achieving our vision and supporting us to create a platform through which will help achieve our objectives. So Digit 7 developed advanced innovative digital products for business owners, enabling them with competitive edge to stay ahead of competition. So the next gen products are based on the technologies such as AI, ML, AR, VR, drone, blockchain, robotics, IoT, and 5G. So they have a great 4 products. I'll tell you a glimpse about them. Digit 7 DGrab. It's a frictionless, cashless smart store for simplified shopping experience. Digit 7 Digit Shelf, a retail shelf with IoT-driven edge integration. Tag Square, a AI-powered uniform platform for digital annotation with 80% downsize hand-on labeling. Glid Robo, smart drone for effective navigation in GPS wide for warehouse inventory management. For more updates, you can go through their website www.digit7.io and understand more in depth. Next, I would like to thank our community partner, which includes DGX, Dependable Global, Express, Valkyrie, Glimpse, and LoadSmart to make this webinar a huge success. A special mention to all the speakers who have spent their valuable time today and sharing their knowledge with everyone. And thanks to the attendees who have registered and came for today's webinar to achieve their objectives through this forum. At the end of the day, we wanted to gain few things out of this forum. First thing, the knowledge. It's immense to learn from you all, the great speakers who are part of today's webinar. If you achieve something out of this forum, our core objective will be achieved. Lastly, if anybody wants to ask any questions, they can type in the Q&A section, which is there in the right side of the corner of the menu. Also, there is a hand raise button at the bottom of the Q&A menu, where you can come to the stage in a PDF format and ask the questions to the speakers. Your questions will be answered at the end of the webinar or during the session, whenever the time permits. So I'll quickly hand it over to the moderator, Carla, from DGX, Dependable Global Express. Over to you, Carla.
Hi, how are you? My name is Carla Antoniazzi. I'm from DGX Global. We are a full scope logistics company, and I'm located in Los Angeles, California. So I'm very happy and pleased to be here today. It's going to be a great webinar. You guys going to learn a lot today about technology and logistics. It's going to be very, very interesting. So first, I like to introduce Ryan Walsh. He's a founder and CEO of Valkyrie. And Ryan, please introduce yourself and talk a little bit more about you.
Thank you, Carla. I'm Ryan Welsh. I'm the CEO and founder at Valkyrie. We build drone infrastructure and drone vertiports that can be added into any drone delivery network to create a fully automated point-to-point solution.
Okay, thank you so much. I would like to start with you, right, and ask you some questions about your business, about or what you can provide and teach us today. So the first question that I like to ask you is, why is so much emphasis placed on the innovation around the next generation of vehicles, but few people recognize the need for infrastructure innovation?
Yeah, it's a great question, Carla. You do see that a lot, both in autonomous vehicles, electric vehicles, and even drones. A lot of emphasis is placed on the vehicles, I think, because they're sexy. That's what, a lot of the technology revolves around, but the infrastructure is the key to making it all happen. And whether that's, the roads we drive on being standardized for a number of different makes and operators, how we navigate the skies with current air traffic control and a bunch of different types of airplanes and helicopters. Standardizing that infrastructure is really what's going to open up the market for drones, but also all the autonomous and electric vehicles.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Another question that we have here is, what do you think is the key logistics trend of this decade? Please let
I
us know.
think I think a big piece of where we're going across this decade is the combination of a lot of technologies, whether it's tracking technologies and IoT technologies, connectivity. We're seeing that down to, sometimes the parcel level now. Having robotics and drones, autonomous vehicles, IoT connectivity, cloud software, it's all coming together. And so there's not really a situation moving forward where you can be specialized in just one discipline. I mean, so much of the technology is really things coming together in creative and new ways, whether it's tracking packages, whether it's delivering packages by drone, whatever it may be. There's a number of different technologies that kind of meet to make all of this work. And so, there's a lot less boundary. It's a lot more blurry between, what technologies do. You have to be savvy in code to some extent. You have to be savvy in connectivity and 4G, LTE, 5G, edge computing. I mean, it's all part of where this next decade of logistics and smart cities are going.
Thank you. Thank you. And another question is, how does drone delivery fit into our current standards logistics and transportations models?
Yeah, I get this question a lot. People ask me all the time, "Do you think drones will replace trucks?" And that's crazy. It's foolish. We already have a maxed out logistics system as it is, and to think that there's going to be, the even bandwidth for a replacement, it's not the right move, right? Drones are going to be an enhancement. They're going to be an extra layer for point-to-point delivery, which it's a lot better suited for than ground delivery in a lot of cases. But drones are never going to replace, semi-trucks. They're never going to be carrying loads that big cross-country. And while there's attempts to make intermodal operations, combined with drones, it's still going to be based on intramodal. It's not going to be upended by drones. Drones are going to have to add to what's already there. So I think that the applications and use cases for drones, all the way from first mile, mid mile to last mile, are endless. It's just a matter of how we put all those technologies together to fit the use case. I think you're on mute.
You're on mute.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that. Thank you so much for the explanation. That was great. And then I have a question from myself. Your company is based in US, correct?
Yes.
Do you have any intentions to go internationally? How is?
We are in the process of going internationally. We have ship units all the way from the South Pacific to Europe. We're always looking for partners in new locations where we can integrate and work with them. So, I know you're working in South America and Central America. It's definitely an area that we're interested in expanding to.
Oh, good. Yes, because I believe all the world, is innovating and needing, and like you say, in the extra final mile is very important to find options that can help, the end consumers to save time and money, and help them. Okay,
Agree.
thank you. Thank you so much. Any other questions from Ryan? Any other from the audience? Please feel free to send your questions. If you don't send right now, you can send later, and we will be more than happy to answer all.
Thank you,
Okay.
Carlos.
Thank you. Thank you, Ryan. It was great explanation. Now I'm going to go for our next guest, and talking about final mile, talk about, deliveries. I like to introduce Chris Ruff. He's the CEO of President of Glimpsy. Thank you so much, Chris, to be here. And please talk a little bit more about yourself and about your company.
To improve communication between people and between people and businesses. The company was founded well over a decade ago, trying to just bring people together with location. If someone is, have to explain anything, right? So if we were meeting for a cup of coffee and you sent me your location that you were going to be late, you don't have to tell me you're late, right? What we've done over the years is taken that capability and moved it into the business setting, where we allow businesses to connect with consumers and give real-time information about where stuff is and bring back all the information to them. We built an entire CX solution around it so that our customers use our platform for all of their day of service communication needs. In countries and in languages, really focused on how do we make that last mile in both product delivery, but also serve tech delivery if you're waiting for the cable guy, a better experience for end users.
You're on mute, Carl.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for the explanation. And I have a couple questions that I like to ask you about your company and your business. Why is the last mile carrier tracking important for modern business? Why is it important, Chris?
Well, that's really a two-sided question. One is, as we all know today, there's an incredible labor shortage in not just people, but in the equipment needed to make deliveries, right? So there's more things that need to be delivered than can be delivered on time. And so the last thing you want is to schedule the delivery. Let's say you're delivering a sofa to somebody's house and they're not there, right? Now all of a sudden, it's not just that you wasted the time and money not making that delivery. You've actually created more of a backlog again for the system, right? And the other part of why it's important is as we move beyond COVID, consumers' expectations around service are increasing, right? And they actually don't want to, wait all day for something. If it's supposed to be here in the morning, they don't want to wait the entire day by not knowing where things are. So really using location to sort of enable a more streamlined last mile experience lowers costs. It's better for the environment, right? If you don't have to roll a truck again, and it makes customer satisfaction extremely high. And that's why we focus on helping build those tools for both businesses and consumers to make sure they always know what's going on.
Oh, that's perfect. And I think this is the tendency right now in all the business in the international, the logistics, the deliveries. Is very important to know where is your provider, when you're going to be there, so you can, in the busiest time, you can program yourself, and then you can save time and money. That's very, very important. Another question is how can business improve their last mile carry tracking? How I can, like me as a business, how I can improve that?
Well, I mean, the first step is deciding why you want to improve it using location, right? Is it, we get customers who come to us and they want to use location to make sure they know where all of their people and assets are, right? Because maybe they're trying to schedule one more delivery that day, right? So they're trying to optimize that. Some businesses come to us because they don't want their customers calling them, and they want to reduce the impact on their call center activity, right? Because if you're waiting for something, the closer it gets to your promise time, if it's not there, the more anxious you get. And we have customers that utilize Glimpse that can reduce call center volumes by up to 65%. Some of that's because we deflect the calls completely because they have complete transparency in knowing where things are. But the other part is they call in and maybe they weren't opted in for the digital experience, but now their IVR system, which is their automated voice system, asks them, hey, you have a delivery today. I bet you're wondering what the ETA is. 30 minutes. Don't have to go to a live op. All of that impact structure. Focus a lot on, labor shortages with respect to getting things delivered. I mean, the economy is at full employment, and so even in the call center, anything you can do to reduce the costs associated.
Okay. Thank you, Chris. Thank you. Please, if you guys have any other questions for Chris, please feel free to also write in our Q&A. Thank you. I have another presenter. Thank you so much, Nicolas Curatalo. He is the head of partnerships, logistics service, and CAS solutions for LoadSmart. Please, Nicolas, talk a little bit more about yourself, about your company, what you guys do, and how your company help in the technology and logistics.
Sure. So as we've spoken a few times, it's about 15 years in the logistics space is my year one in the, I guess, call it SaaS tech space. And the reason I wanted to get into this is really to help push forward this analog way that exists in logistics and digitize the logistics world, right? And I felt LoadSmart was a perfect place to do that, as a digital broker, as a software solution provider, to ultimately digitize, logistics solutions. And so our motto is move more with less. So, at the end of the day, we're trying to help any brands, logistic providers, and just anyone that has a warehouse be more efficient and have frictionless solutions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question for you. With the transportation industry still being analog, how do you advise companies to go about introducing technology solutions without it being a threat to their current workforce?
Sure. So, I mean, I think the the perspective that I have is that tech doesn't replace jobs, and it's just if you empower your people to be part of that decision-making process instead of making it, a threat, which I don't believe it should be. In terms of, have them go through the process, have them understand what the solutions mean to the everyday operation and even to their function. And then, ultimately how it's going to make them more efficient and give them, better peace of mind and ease of use in their daily life.
Okay, thank you. And what do you believe companies are looking for when it comes to artificial intelligence and technology solutions to help their supply chain evolve and scale?
Well, not only, when it comes to those types of things, I mean, I think companies want to make rapid decisions, not just in real time, but off time, right? So, they say you're not making money unless you're making it when you sleep. I mean, I think it's the same thing that comes to decisions in this world where we need to be, having those things happen while, the 9 to 5 isn't. And then in terms of supply chain and in the transportation industry, I think visibility and transparency is really key in terms of how to, create, the differences and more of a hands-on approach, right? So, for instance, like Load Smart, like where we are, we're trying to move analog to digital, but we're still keeping that personal touch. I think that is in the transportation industry really what folks are looking for, because you have people that are, if you talk to most folks that are in logistics 20 years, 30 years, this is the way we're doing it. But, they have to break through that and evolve in order to scale, especially with, not just what's coming in front of us, but what's around the corner, right? So I think that as long as you're transparent and, you have frictionless solutions, you're going to be ahead of the game.
Yeah, that's true. I agree with you. And it's very important now to find best solutions to the customers in
Yep.
these days, especially right now. The logistics is going through a very, very tough area since COVID, and with problems in space, problems in, like Chris says, like not having manpower to fulfill the needs, and now having a company like yours that can act like a logistics solution provider, that you can go online and look and choose a catered logistics to your company needs is very important. So yeah, that's very important in those days, in the actual logistics era that we are facing right now. I like to ask to any one of you guys a question who wants to answer, please. What you guys see in the future of logistics now? For example, now, like I say, we are having so much problems with finding space, cargo, having problems arriving, manpower. How do you see it's going to happen in the future? What you guys, as a professional in the logistics and also using technology to help your customers and the market, how do you see logistics from now on? How do you foresee the situation? Please, who wants to answer?
I think radical transparency is going to be critical in logistics. I think that's what all these guys are working on. Understanding at a granular level where each piece in the chain is, and where the choke points are, where the bottlenecks are, and working around those with innovation. But that transparency is going to give levels of detail and problem solving capabilities that we haven't been able to achieve before. So I think the information and data is going to be everything.
That's true. That's true. Any thought on that, Chris?
So I agree with that. Obviously, we're focused on transparency using location. I also think that we're going to start seeing a massive shift towards micro fulfillment capability. And from there, that's probably where the drone network will be its most efficient, where you need to move something literally a last mile as opposed to last miles, right? And so we're going to put, almost like when you build a technical architecture, we're going to put goods on the edge, right, so that they can be easily delivered.
It's funny you mentioned that, Chris. So we're working with a couple of different partners tackling that in a couple of different ways, right? One is mobile fulfillment, where you have vehicles that are capable of delivering by drone, that are stocked up with various goods that can be brought to different areas. Another one of our partners has a device that can be mounted on trucks or trains or airplanes that can go up to 65 miles an hour, receiving or deploying drones, right? So you can deploy drones while that truck is going down the road. And so you don't even have to get to the end point where you're offloading it to different fulfillment centers. You may be launching drones en route while you're doing a cross country haul, if there's different things you're going to be distributing along the way. So I think you're absolutely right, Chris. A lot of the micro fulfillment and hybridized intermodal is going to be some of the biggest changes we're going to see, because it's going to upend exactly what you're talking about, Carla, warehousing space and having to go from big shipment to medium shipment to small shipment to package to your house, right? I mean, that's a very capital time intensive way of doing it.
That's true. And Nicholas, any thoughts on that too?
Yeah, and I mean, I definitely agree with the transparency, and I think I might have said it a few times in my answers, right? I think transparency is key, not just in life and in your relationships and in business, but in transportation. It is, to me, vital, and I think it's the only way in the future that you're going to be successful. You should be able to be able to track wherever your container is, your shipment is, whatever, right? It's better to know than to not know, and to be proactive so you can plan it. I mean, you can have all the AI and all the data in the world, but if you don't know where stuff is and you don't know how to react, you can't really, operate your business efficiently. And the other thing too that I think about when I think about like how we could get faster. I mean, have those maglev trains, right, that are going at a crazy speed. I mean, we should be upping that and infrastructure. The U.S. is probably. I mean, it's very weird, right? If you look at the rail system in the U.S., I think improving that and using those trains and those different technologies will help. They even talking about these taxis, right, that are air taxis, right, that's already starting a little bit, but to make that more accessible. I think if we reduce the congestion on the roads, and if you think about it, a lot of people are afraid of flying, but if you actually think about it, you have a higher chance of a fatality in a car or a truck than you do in a plane. And to me, if we can somehow use technology to reduce those fatalities and actually reduce congestion, I actually think that would help supply chain, especially in the United States. I'm sure in other places too, where I've been, all over the world, and some of the roads are a little crazy, right? I mean, to be able to put technology to help that and reduce that friction could actually help, a lot of the flow of transportation, and especially, tracking things a lot easier.
I think you're spot on. If you don't mind me jumping in, Carla, there's a stretch on 9094 out in Chicago, and I think the last figure I heard is it adds like $1,200 or $1,500 just going through this 2 mile stretch, because the congestion is so costly on the freight, right? And to your point, unlocking that third dimension of using the ground to 400 feet where you're delivering packages, having an Uber driver in a vehicle, van size, vehicle size, delivering one hamburger to somebody's house, that's crazy. That's completely inefficient, right? If we can use an autonomous vehicle to go through the air, get there faster, use less costs, less resources, less energy, it's a greener way of delivering. That alleviates somebody on the road. That makes the people who need the road get their access better, faster, more efficiently, right? So it's really about adding that third dimension and using drones, as Nick's mentioning. That's really going to this is the only way to alleviate the last mile. It is really the only way, where we're just at capacity, especially in urban areas.
If I can jump in real quick. So I agree that the third dimension will help, but I don't want to underestimate that even if we had a fully autonomous world, which obviously is going to take years to get to, just the impact on the roadways of cars and trucks would be impacted very positively because things just wouldn't crash. That means everything could be dynamically queued on the roads and stuff could just keep moving. Now it may move slower, but it never stops. And so in a world like that, you could take a bunch of the friction out of even the traditional roadways. And then if you add the third dimension to it, everything should get a lot more streamlined.
Yep.
It's funny you say that keep moving and never stops. I saw something about these pods that you could like go and you're staying and then like you can actually travel in the pod overnight. It's like the strangest thing ever. I mean, the only thing I've ever done equivalent to that is I went from like Palermo to Naples on a cruise boat because I didn't want to drive or do any of that crazy stuff. So like imagine, hey, I'm in Boston today and I have a meeting. Oh, I'm going to get in this pod and it's going to take me back home to New York, or it's going to take me to my next meeting in Detroit. I mean, I guess I imagine where that happens in the next decade or so. I mean, I guess the Jetsons really is going to come true maybe 20 years late. I don't know,
Yeah, I mean, it's already happening in a lot of cases. I mean, the urban air mobility market, the drone market, I mean, people really only see the headlines that hit, Wall Street Journal and things like that. But there is so much happening under the surface and so much innovation being made on a daily basis. I would say, everything from drones to those, pods you're talking about. I mean, we're seeing huge movements in urban mobility.
That's true. That's true. Is the future is changing like so fast, and technology is taking over so fast, especially in our industry, is amazing. And we're gonna have a company, a small business, that is gonna be so easier to them to deliver. Like now, for example, online business, e-commerce is growing so fast, and you buy online your merchandise, you gonna have online somebody to take care of logistics, and give options, personalized options to that company to bring their product, like you, and it's gonna have companies like Chris company and Ryan company that is gonna have the drones or the final mile to track merchandise that I'm buying online, what time I'm gonna receive, and gonna receive in my backyard with a drone, and then it's gonna be something that very futuristic, and then it's changing our industry completely. So 10 years ago, we never thought that this could happen, and now we find the great companies, the great leaders to solve these issues, for, the small business, medium business, big companies, and for better for the end user that is being penalized a lot for the logistics problems that we are facing right now. So that is very, very important. Now I can see here our audience. I thank everybody, but I don't see no questions. Please feel free to ask questions. It's a great opportunity with these great professionals, and they can answer, your questions. I'm gonna give you some minutes to kind of elaborate questions, and please feel free to add in our Q&A section. While I don't have any questions from audience, I like to see if you guys have any more comments. Any of our guest speakers have any more comments, any more issues that you guys like to address, and let our audience know about the future, about your company, the plans that you guys have for the future.
Sure, if you guys don't mind. So I just wanted to speak on that last thing about last mile. I mean, when I think about last mile, I think about basically, DHL, UPS, FedEx, USPS, and I think about the cost that they have when they have to make multiple delivery attempts, right? The first delivery attempt, they make, their profit. The second delivery attempt, they cut into their profit. The third delivery attempt, they start to lose money, right? And so these, using new technology will actually reduce that, which should actually reduce the cost of shipping, if you want to be technical. It's I don't know if you're seeing, and I'm sure most folks are seeing, there are a lot of regional carriers getting into the space. They're becoming more prevalent. It's becoming more comfortable to use other players. COVID-19 really made that, the case. I see that not just in last mile, but I see that in all walks. There's opportunity for anyone that's willing to innovate and willing to embrace technology to really take market share in any type of intermodal or any type of transportation method right now. I think this is a really a grab the bull by the horns opportunity for anybody who wants to get into space.
If I can jump in, Nick, I mean, the shipping something from China, 53% of the cost comes from the last mile, right? And it's the run-ups like you're talking about. It's failed delivery attempts, multiple delivery attempts, package damage, package theft, all of that. And there's no return process, right? If you don't like something from Amazon, it's even more expensive to take it back. So they just say, keep it more refund, right? So the last mile is not only choked up in not getting the package to you, but securing the package once it's there. And that's really why we focus on building those locker systems and mailboxes that make it very easy, right? So you don't care if it's a traditional delivery, if it's a drone delivery or whatever it is, you have a secure point that's protecting it from weather, animals, theft, multiple delivery attempts, and we can show full chain of custody. So you can prove that there's zero loss and shrinkage in the endpoint, right? And so, a lot of these technologies are getting layered in for that last mile because the cost drivers are so immense, right? I mean, to think that from China to Chicago is less than half of the cost, and then from Chicago to the suburbs, the other half, that's crazy.
Yeah, that's good. And I have questions from our audience. That's so good. I have a question from Ida. I'm going to read it and then you guys can answer. How new transportation technology are emerging to meet connected and autonomous vehicles, alternative fuels challenges? Who can answer?
I've been going to a number of government applications and conferences, and that's a big thing that they're focusing on right now. So there's a huge opportunity there. Nick, I didn't mean to cut you off. Please go.
Oh, no, I was going to say take it because I knew that was something that you're versed in. Chris, do you have anything you want to
Yeah, so I my previous life did a lot of work in the automotive industry, and the alternative fuels challenge is quite a big problem. Toyota was pushing hydrogen as an alternative, which is cleaner. But the real problem is the last mile of the fuel distribution to actually innovate around that. There's not enough stations to actually have hydrogen. I do believe enterprise will be able to solve even on the electrification side easier than humans to begin with, right? Because they can build the charging stations they need in their depots and things like that, which I think will accelerate the opportunity to go to these cleaner sources. But really, fuel is probably what's slowing down the movement to green with respect to automotive, at least automotive and trucks. So.
Yeah, and to your point, in the metro areas, it'll probably be easier to meet those needs. But when you get into some of the rural areas, it's going to be harder until those charging stations are put. I think Target's implementing pretty much at all their locations, Tesla charging stations. You're starting to see it in most major airports. There's charging stations. If you're going to alternative fuels, even there could be a handful in a metro city. That's even a challenge right now. So I think if we move towards that, but I think you're far away from the alternative fuel piece. I think really the electric and just having a dual, so it's not 100% reliability on fuel. Having dual vehicles that can do both will be the way for the next few years. And then as I guess there's going to be a cutoff point. I mean, it's more government, involvement that's going to drive that, right? I mean, think about this, right? If you talk about last mile, like what the mailbox hasn't been recreated since like 1868 or something like that. I mean, the late 1800s. I mean, so imagine if the post office said, hey, you know what? No more mailbox. In order to get a package from us, you have to have a package box. Oh, well, what would happen? Well, everybody would have to get a package box, right? So, I mean, it's the same thing with emissions and fuels and vehicles. The government's going to have to drive some of that legislation that's ultimately going to push that. And, it's up to each local governments to do that.
Okay.
And
Thank
the
you.
other thing to focus on is not so much the innovation around the tech, but consuming less in today's model, right? Even if you're still burning traditional fuel, proper routing, eco-friendly routing, not having to re-roll trucks for deliveries that are missed. All of those things have a much larger impact today than what alternative energy will bring to the system. It's just not as impactful as doing better with what we have today. Though I'm hopeful for a better world.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for such great answers. Now I have another question. Thank you, audience, to asking, keep asking. So, who will maintain the machinery that the artificial intelligence controls? How will they be trained? How will we train these machines? Anyone like to answer that question?
Well, if it's AI, they'll just fix themselves.
Yeah.
That's
I'm not sure I have a better answer on that one.
Well, I think honestly, there's certain functions that still have to be done by humans, even with technology and with AI. And I think some things, when it comes to machinery, will still have to take place over time. That can evolve, but I think that's what's great about it is that you use the technology to enhance and make things better and make your life easier. I mean, think about it this way, right? In a non-practical sense, not transportation wise, but think about like putting together a bike or putting together something these days. What do? You go to YouTube, you look at a video, and then you do it, right? Well, that's a lot easier than trying to, for some stuff you want to read through, 36 pages of instructions. You actually physically see it being put together. You could pause, go back, redo it. It's the same thing with probably machinery. There's ways that you can look up to service it better. So that's using technology to be more efficient, right? Instead of having to read a whole book on how to operate the machinery, you can actually just watch a video on it, right? I mean, so that's technology at its best, right? I mean, that's what we use it for.
Without being funny, I'm not super worried about service providers that today may be servicing traditional equipment evolving with the task, right? Those technicians are trainable, and there's some really promising technology in VR that will allow basically, a technician to have a partner in the cloud that can help walk them through some of these things. So I think we'll have the supply of labor we need and the technical capability to deliver on service on this.
okay. Thank you. And this question was from Mike Porcelli. Thank you, Mike, for the great question. Now I have another question here. Actually, is a discussion. Is for the CEO of Glimpse. Can the CEO of Glimpse explain why that final mile is so important to the customer? Why?
Yeah, it's really about time, right? And uncertainty, and if something can be dropped off on the porch, right, as long as you're in a safe enough neighborhood that it's not being stolen, then the transparency may not be quite as important in the last mile, right? But if you're having a couch delivered that you have to be home, maybe you've got a sleeping baby, you've got a dog barking, you want to really have more precision in how you can control your life and environment when it gets there. And companies in the last mile, whether it's providing service or delivering products, who care about their customers' time will win in the end, right? Because we as humans will gravitate to the experiences that feel the best. And that's why we think it's so important to have that communication. People don't mind being disappointed. They mind not knowing, right? It's like they can accept the challenges of a delivery world, but what they don't like is they waited until 5 and then got an email later that night that says we need to reschedule, right? That sort of thing is what can permanently damage a relationship, and why we think it's so important to really drive communication. Location's only one piece of it. For us, providing that, it enables complete transparency around where things are. But there's also, we're integrated with lots of other platforms for doing text messaging, email, voice, all kinds of other things that will allow the end user to consume where things are on their terms, even if that means asking Alexa, "Where's my couch?"
Yeah. Okay, that's very important. And another question here is what that the customer experience can do for the business operations, offering that CX. Do people care today?
I think
I think
people
that might
care.
be targeted. Yeah. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Ryan.
I think people care more than ever, and that's kind of our mission at Valkyrie for the drones, right? Is what you'll see a lot is when you're loading or receiving packages from drones, especially in a lot of the current models, it's a person loading it, right? Whether that's a minimum wage employee at a restaurant or a retailer, or if you're delivering medical supplies, you have nursing staff that has to unload the package from the drone by hand, and so we thought exactly from the customer experience, right? Everybody was thinking from the drone down. We wanted to think from the customer up. And so we built our landing stations and mailboxes to be very familiar, very much something people have used in the past, and they don't have to worry about learning how to unload or load aircraft, right? So that customer experience ends up being everything. I can imagine in Chris's world, right? I mean, to that exact point, if I took a day off work and I'm waiting on a couch and you tell me I have to take tomorrow off now, I am not buying from you again, period. So customer experience today is more important than it's ever been. And there's so many touch points.
The other thing that's the other thing. I'll go start. The other thing that I wanted to say with respect to this is the new consumer, whether it be millennial or the emerging Gen Z market, they don't talk on phones, right? They don't go analog anymore. They've grown up in a pure digital world. So digital communication is the expectation, and businesses need to step up, or they're going to lose consumers, right?
And I think it's twofold. It's an onion, right? I think when you talk about business operations, you can even take that a step further back before we even get into the last mile and the receiver. Companies, right, that treat their employees great, don't have to worry about their employees then treating their customers great, and then ultimately the customer experience is the best possible, right? And to me, I know here at LoadSmart, we put the customer at the center of everything we do, and the employee experience, so far, I've been here since November. I mean, it's one of the best I've experienced in any of the places I've worked, and I think that says a lot, and that usually comes off to the customer and their customer's customer, right? And we're in a service industry, so we're servicing a logistics provider or a brand and then their customers, right? So their customers ultimately our customer. So I think the companies that focus on creating the best customer experience for their own workforce, which then it will come out to their actual customers, right? And so to me, you have to be insanely obsessed with creating the best experience possible. And if you don't, like you said, Chris, whether it's digital for the younger generation, I'm kind of like in between. I can do both, right? There's the older generation that doesn't want to do digital. They try, but they can't. And then there's the younger generation that if you don't have it, you're losing, right? I'll give you an example. Delta had a bunch of pilot issues Sunday and Monday, and trying to get on the phone with them, it would be like 4.5 hours. But they have their digital chat. You hear people complaining on Twitter, I can't get a hold of Delta. Yes, you can, digitally. You can't get them on the phone, but digitally they can solve your problem, right? So that's the shift, and that's what has to take place. But they still have to, right now, there's still a good amount of the population that still are analog. So they have to figure out a way to have a better experience for that. If you looked at their Twitter, it wasn't very nice. I wouldn't suggest going and looking at it. But if you wanted a lesson on how not to have a good customer experience, I guess go look at it. But that's just how it is.
Yeah, one more point on the employee thing. There was really several years ago when I first joined Glimpse as CEO. We had a challenge with an integration with a customer, and Glimpse didn't work for several hours, which is bad. But the biggest complaint was, excuse me. The biggest complaint was the delivery people had to revert back to making phone calls to customers because Glimpse wasn't available. So that lowered the employees' experience, which makes things worse. So adding tech does help your employees be more productive and happier.
Yeah. And it's funny, I just seen Mike Porcello follow up on the question about, I guess, the tech, and saying there's not enough trained individuals. I actually agree with you, Mike, and Ryan and Chris, feel free to weigh in here. But, I think that would be more of like I would want to talk about the educational system. I don't know if I want to shift to that, but I'll just say this very quick, because I could go on for probably hours on that topic. But I think that comes down to an educational infrastructure of that, certain folks you can identify early, someone that's technically sound, and maybe they shouldn't have to go through college. Maybe it should be trade schools. Maybe we should be pushing towards that. I mean, honestly, I have a son, he's 5, he's pretty great with his hands. If he gets to a point where maybe he's not so great with school, but he's good with his hands and he's technical, I'm going to push him to do that, right? Because that's what makes sense, right? But, that hasn't happened. I feel like we missed a generation of that a little bit because of this onslaught. Folks don't want to get their hands dirty, right? And I can be honest with you, I'm not that good at it, but it is a problem. I do agree with you, Mike. I can tell you, my dad went to the repair shop the other day, and it was $400 cost. I think that's part of that.
That's good. Thank you. I have a comment from Mike here. He says, absolutely, you need to demand that the education system give techs the respect and opportunity they deserve. I totally agree with that, because our society is to have the university and have more academic type of students, and the tech kids, the tech people, they left a little bit behind. Like, what I am, I'm hands-on. What am I gonna do? I like technology. What is my place in this system? And I agree totally. And I think colleges and universities, they should have more place, more cadet education for tech people, tech students, that they can use their gift to innovate technology and create wonderful things. Like your guys' business is wonderful. Each one of you have a different business, and helping a lot the industry. So I have Arvid back here. So
Yeah, great discussion actually. Yeah, thanks, Carla, for moderating it very well. And also thanks for the panel members who brought the insight on how technology is changing the transportation sector in a better way. Guys, any of you have any questions? Can type in the Q&A section. We have 2 minutes. There was a comment from Mike.
Mike, is it doubt us ever think you develop will fail? Yeah, doubt the text. That is a great comment. Thank you, Mike. Thank you. I agree totally with you.
And I think actually it starts even before college and universities, right? I think it starts in the latter part of grammar school, early part of high school, where you can kind of see these skills develop. So I think it's up to these larger companies that believe that there's going to be a problem to really push it. So I agree with you.
And we have to get in tech, whether it's at the technician level or all the way up to folks who write code, we need more gender diversity as well. We're still missing a huge part of the labor force. I have 2 daughters, and it's still a mixed message on girls getting into tech, and so we're missing out on truly capable people who could be helpful. So
I think it's a problem. Yeah, I'm sorry. I think it's a problem in most industries. I think, to me, the best person that fits the description, shouldn't matter your religion, your background, your gender, whatever it is. If you're the best person suited for that role, you should be in that role. It should not be the good old boys club or anything like that. Those days should be long gone. Hopefully, we can go forward and not backwards. There's some things that have happened where we've gone backwards, but It's up to leaders and folks who apply for them to speak out. I mean, honestly, some of the greatest folks I've worked with in logistics are women, and and I've worked with all different backgrounds. I don't think, to me, I don't know. I was raised and I was brought up a certain way, to really just take people at face value and don't judge a book by its cover. Judge people how they treat you and treat it the same way. And I think that's how it should be done in business. And I think it's a shame that things still happen that way. Unfortunately, not everyone has that same mindset, but we need to push that agenda. And we need to push it hard.
Yeah, that's true. And Mike, answer here must start in grad school. Help me. That's true. The kids should be trained since the beginning, and especially girls. You should say, hey, you can be whatever you want to be. You want to be engineer. You want to be, technician. You want to build something. You can do it. And stop with the thing about all the girls need to do girl stuff, the boys need to do boys stuff. No, we can do whatever we want. We are capable to do whatever we want. So that is very important. And it started from high school to train, and stop to have that idea of like, no, if you're tech, not doesn't have a place for you. You need to go do well in school, do your extra curriculum, get a good GPA, and then go to a good university and graduate and do all your gen eds and do the traditional way. So no, we should train the kids and give more opportunities for those that like technology, like computer, like hands-on, like to innovate things, to give them the proper training and the proper opportunity to they advance in life. That's my opinion. And then he says, sorry, that was grade school. That's true. I so any
Great,
other
great.
questions? Any other comments?
Any other questions? Okay, I'll quickly wrap up. So I would like to thank all our community partners and the technology partner Digit7 for making this webinar a huge success. The recording of this session will be published in our YouTube channel and posted in our social media channel shortly. Keep watching the space. Special thanks to all our speakers who's part of today's webinar and the audience who were there from the beginning. And thanks to all of you. Please log into our website www.aicourspot.io and like our social media channels. We'll be doing lot of knowledge sharing topics, announcement and upcoming events and webinars and much more that will keep you that will help you register, attend and make your horizon a broader way. Thanks to all the great speakers who have taken their time and shared their thoughts. Thanks everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thanks, Travis.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.